What is up, YouTube? Pink Reaper here, back with more Let's Play Paper Mario. Hopefully the last part. So at the end of the last part, obviously I just got worked over by Bowser over and over and again. But I decided on a new strategy that hopefully this time will work. But one thing I looked up before starting this part was I've been doing it kind of wrong. As it turns out, I actually can deal slightly more damage to Bowser than I have been. I've been doing 20 damage here in the very beginning. I can actually do 23 if need be. I actually don't think it really matters that much considering the strategy I'll be using, but I'm going to try and hit that number. The thing is, I'm not 100% certain if I can hit 23 exactly. This is actually my second take at recording this, by the way. The first time I was recording this, today at least, I heard this awful noise coming from my computer, and upon closer inspection, it was the backup hard drive in my computer, and as it turns out, the backup hard drive in my computer no longer works. It died. So that's great. I haven't done anything with that yet. I haven't tried to do like a recovery or anything like that. I will likely do that. Alright. So that was 4. That was 9. Okay, this should be 22 damage. Which puts him at 77. I don't know if that matters too much. Let me think here. Let me map this out real quick. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. For those wondering why the damage here, like why the number has to be so specific, so Final Bowser has a healing move he can use to heal himself for, I want to say, oh, I should actually move that a little further away from the PC. I want to say he heals for 30. I'm pretty sure it's 30. But he'll only do it under very specific circumstances, or not very specific circumstances, but you can actually stop him from doing it with very specific circumstances. First off, if his health is above a certain amount, he won't heal. Which is, I believe, as long as it's above 75. So if you're at 76 to 99, he won't heal. And also, if Mario is below a certain threshold, I'm not sure if he has to be in danger specifically, or if he just has to be below a specific percentage of life, because I know he will heal if Mario's at full health and only has 10 health. Because, again, Mario's at full health. So that's why I'm aiming to end the fight basically in a single series of moves. Just the one power bounce, essentially. Also, I should point out, theoretically, I should actually have more life shrooms than I have right now. There's a thing I didn't show off that you can do to allow you to clone an item that's in your inventory. You can duplicate items. The problem is, and as far as I know, I'm literally the only person this has ever happened to. It's never happened to anyone else as far as I can tell. If I do it, occasionally it just crashes my game. I just get a soft lock, and I don't know why. Maybe I should ask Strider7X about it. He's, he knows everything about crashing this game. But, yeah, so I didn't do it. So that's why this fight, that's the other reason this fight hasn't been going perfectly for me. If I had the item, If I had the extra life shroom, I'd be better off, but I don't, unfortunately. The reason I need it is because if I have the extra life shroom and I get 4 capped on my power bounces, which is to say if I can if I'm only allowed to do four bounces as part of the power bounce, I'd still theoretically be able to finish the fight. I don't know for certain if I could, but you know, it's a theoretical thing. So I'm going to try and remember here what I'm doing here. So jump charge, switch to bow, die. And then I'm going to jump charge. Should I out of sight right now? No, I'll do nothing. Okay, good. There's the possibility that he uses the wave on that turn. Like a turn 2 wave is the most annoying thing, but it's whatever. So I'm going to jump charge. And then I'm going to out of sight this turn. And now obviously I did not avoid the wave there with bow, which kind of sucks. It would have been nice if he used it right there, because that would mean he's not using it right here. But this is fine. Okay. Doing that actually does not help me at all. I just like doing it. Actually, I just thought of... No. This is fine, actually. So I'm going to do nothing again. He blows his flames. Going to jump charge. Do nothing. Yeah, so it would have been nice to get that block though. If I got that block, I could have given myself one more turn, but all right. Now I want to hope he uses fire here. Nope. Oh, that's actually just as good though, because this will take me to 1 HP. And now I'm going to do that thing where I turn on the sound, so I hopefully don't miss my power bounces. Alright, he should be dead. Yep, that's it. That's death. So because that put me at 1 HP as well, I actually don't know that I needed the extra jump charge. Because I got 5 bounces. 5 bounces, I would have been at 3 less damage. It would have started at 17. It would be 17, 33, 48, 62, 76. Actually, I did need the mega rush bonus because I didn't get his health. I didn't get his health 1 point lower. If his health had been 1 point lower, I wouldn't have needed the Mega Rush, but luckily I did. So that was actually RNG that I got it. Oh, I can turn this down now, or else you're going to hear it double. So that is the whole game. I have defeated President of America, Doug Bowser, and now Reggie can come back, and Nintendo will be saved forever. We need to destroy, obviously, Nintendo America headquarters here and escape. So, I guess I should talk about this now that we're in the final part, because there's like 15 minutes of fucking cutscene that's about to happen, and I really haven't touched on it at all before this. It should be kind of obvious to anyone who's ever seen this game before. I didn't quite play it the right way. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been wanting to do a replay of Paper Mario, but using all of my knowledge of the various speedrun glitches you can do in it. And the reason I wanted to do it is for this reason and this reason specifically. Did I play the game the wrong way? Did I do it wrong? So this is something that pops up a lot when I read articles on speedrunning, or if I'm looking up clips on speedrunning, or things like that, or glitches and stuff like that. It comes up even more so on TAS speedruns, or like credits warp speedruns and stuff like that. There's always someone, and there's usually some ones. There's usually a large group of people who are complaining that it's like, well, why did you even do it? What's the point? You didn't even play the game. You didn't do it right. You didn't play the game the right way. So I decided what I wanted to do was I wanted to have a Let's Play where I played the game right. I went to every single chapter, and I collected every single partner. I grabbed a bunch of unnecessary shit. That's literally the reason. That's literally the reason I grabbed that extra badge after leaving Cooper Brothers Fortress, was just to be like, hey, look, I collected something. The star piece, however, was completely accidental. I did go to every single chapter. Didn't fight every boss, obviously. But I fought, some of the bosses. Many as I wanted to. Like I said, I powered up all the bosses. I powered up most of my partners, obviously not Goombario. Goombario doesn't count. So I even talked to some NPC toads just for giggles. So clearly I played the game the right way, right? I did it right. I did it segmented. I wasn't doing it trying to play as fast as humanly possible. I wasn't trying to skip, every last second. I didn't skip every battle I got into. I skipped most of them. But, I did battles. At what point did I stop playing the game the right way and start playing it the wrong way, basically, is my question. It's just always been a thing that annoyed me when people complain that you're not playing the game. I had a shitload of fun playing this again. With the exception of obviously getting raffle stomped by Bowser. That's an RNG fight until I realized that I could make it not RNG. I really enjoyed replaying this and sort of routing on the fly how I was going to do stuff. Believe it or not, as haphazard as a lot of this Let's Play was, a lot of the stuff I did in terms of battles fought or what I didn't skip was on purpose. I needed to have certain thresholds for FP and BP at certain parts of the game, and I just sort of I didn't know for certain. I just sort of assumed that I would get the correct amount of XP needed from certain fights. There was only one fight I did that I did not, I wasn't thinking in my mind that I should do, but it was good that I did it anyway, because it caused me to level up on Hallway Bowser, which meant I didn't have to go back and heal after that fight, but that's not really the point. Obviously, though, I was making a lot of mistakes. I screwed up a lot of stuff in Chapter 1. I had struggled with log skip. I haven't done it in forever, and I don't know. I always had trouble with that. There's probably some questions from people who've never seen a speedrun. Oh, shoot. I didn't get that. Oh, I did get it. I got Luigi skip. I was holding down. Hey, it is still here. That's interesting. I wonder why. Let's go grab another random useless thing. So anyone who's never seen a speedrun of this game, you've probably got some questions. Like, for instance, why wasn't Toot and Koopa there in Chapter 2? What happened with Chapter 4? Like, how did I get in there, even? Stuff like that. When we get a little bit closer to the... you can actually... It doesn't matter because they're not blocking it here. You can actually get into the dojo when it's being blocked in the first chapter. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're not here. So, just to start, a basic explanation to give you an idea of, like, how this game works, and then to give you an idea, from there I can explain how I really manipulated things and how I manipulated being in certain chapters. Paper Mario runs with, like, what is referred to as a flag system. Basically, the game only checks very specific things to determine what chapter you're in. They're essentially roadblocks or specific items you have to have that you couldn't have otherwise outside of being in that chapter, obviously. For instance, when I did the Blue House clip that got me into the underground, which I then used to go to Chapter 5, to Lava Lava Island. When I actually entered Lava Lava Island, I had left from Mount Rugged, and when I was when taking the train for the first time out of Toad Town, the game places you into Chapter 2. That's one of the flags, is taking the train the first time. So I took the train. I'm in Chapter 2. I left. I went into Chapter 5. However, I wasn't technically in Chapter 5 until I went right of the village and encountered the scene with Colorado. That scene is a flag scene, and it's set to be there the first time you enter that area. So I entered that area. The Colorado scene happened. And then I advanced the scene further by talking to him and having him return to the village. At that point now I'm in Chapter 5, so the game, sets the village to having the Yoshi kids having run away. I could get sushi, and then I entered Chapter 5's dungeon, Mount Lava Lava, and got the hammer. The reason I got the hammer is because I knew I was going to need it in order to beat the fight with the what do you call it? The second blooper, the electro blooper. I had to win that fight, and I needed the extra damage from having that hammer plus the hammer toss badge, which would do 6 damage. So see that? I actually got the hammer toss badge on purpose. You saw me using it. I was thinking that far ahead. Now, when I was in since I set the flag for Chapter 5, what that does is it sets the world to be in Chapter 5, with the exception of the pre-Chapter 5 flags. Any unset flag is still not yet, essentially hasn't been used. Now, most flags are tied to items rather than scenes. So, for instance, I then returned to Dry Desert, and I went through into the dungeon, and Tut and Koopa wasn't there. The reason Tut and Koopa wasn't there is because there was the dungeon was already set as having been completed. Believe it or not, bosses do not have their own flag. If you enter a boss room, but you're not in their chapter, you're in a part further than their chapter, they will not spawn. So because I was in Chapter 5, Toot and Koopa wasn't there, and there was no other item I could grab in Chapter 2 to set me back to Chapter 2. I knew going into it that would be the case. I knew I wasn't going to fight Toot and Koopa. I sort of consciously chose to do it that way. I had the choice to do it a different way. What I could have done, is instead not gotten the Ultra Hammer, which would have made things harder, but I could have done it and it would have taken longer. I would have had to go through the desert slightly more properly. I would have had to go back to Mount Rugged. I did want to do Blue House skip right when I did it, because I wanted to just have Blue House open, and I needed to go back to the town anyway to get the Speedy Spin badge. But what I could have done instead was go back to town, get the Speedy Spin badge, do Blue House skip, but not go to Chapter 5, and instead grab the train that you saw me do the clip into the wall, into the Toad Town shop, to get the toy train for Shy Guy's Toy Box. When you get the train, when you have that train in your inventory and you walk into Toad Town, Like if you load any area of Toad Town with that train in your inventory, the game just considers you in Chapter 4. Having that train is the flag for Chapter 4. Or it's one of them, I should say. That's why, despite the fact that I had... I forgot I was actually technically in Chapter 3 when I came back to Toad Town anyway, but that's why, despite the fact that I hadn't technically completed Chapter 3, I was still in Chapter 3 when I returned to Toad Town. I could start Chapter 4. The reason I'm saying all of this is, in Chapter 2, there is a flag I could have gotten that would have set me back and allowed me to fight Toot and Koopa, and that is the Super Hammer. Each of the hammer upgrades and the Super Boot, the Super Boots are all tied to a flag for their chapter. Because they are absolutely necessary to complete their chapter. The Ultra Boots, however, are not. You can get the Ultra Boots while you're still in Chapter 6. You can get them, obviously, as soon as you get Lackey Lester. So it's not tied to any specific thing. Getting them pre-Chapter 5 somehow won't set you into Chapter 5. Getting them during Chapter 5 won't set you post-Chapter 5, anything like that. So what I could have done if I wanted to just have Dry Ruins already raised and skip the entire Moustafa thing and be able to just enter it and quickly grab a bunch of the items that take you to the boss battle, I could have gone to Chapter 4, then returned to Chapter 2. Picked up the train and then returned to Chapter 2, entered the Dry Ruins, gotten the hammer, and then just proceeded with the ruins as regularly. I didn't do that. I chose not to do that. I wanted to instead have the Ultra Hammer and get it, just have that extra power as fast as possible and just as early as possible. So I knew I wasn't going to be fighting Toot and Koopa. That's the reason he wasn't there. That's a that's a rundown of how Paper Mario operates. So you might be wondering then, okay, well, if that's the case, if you were still in Chapter 5, how did you move back to Chapter 3? Well, obviously I told you I got the Super Boots. The Super Boots count as a flag set for Chapter 3. The thing I didn't actually realize, though, I didn't know this, was that despite the fact that I was technically in Chapter 5 when I first tried to enter Forever Forest, it still didn't let me do it. I have to assume that's because the game doesn't treat that as a regular flag and instead is something else, like it's a response to probably the flag of meeting Bootler in the entrance to Forever Forest. I'm not sure, but obviously once I'd gotten Bow, it let me do it anyway, which is weird, but it's whatever. So that's how I got into Chapter 2, and then obviously I explained how I got to Chapter 4. And then, like I said, because there's a cutscene trigger for Chapter 5 with Colorado, once you set the game pre-Chapter 5, that cutscene essentially restarts, because it's, as far as the game's concerned, that's the first time you've entered the area where Colorado would spawn, because, you can't go back, right? You can't go back in time. This is your first time in Chapter 5. So that's why Colorado respawned, and that's why the Chapter 5 stuff all worked. Chapter 6, nothing was really skipped. I could have skipped literally all of Chapter 6 by doing an incredibly difficult glitch when you that's similar to log skip, only even harder, and you saw how long it took me to get log skip. When you saw me clip into the Great Wisterwood's face, you can use that to get out of bounds and then do a weird thing where you fall off the map and touch the loading zone for a single frame, and then position yourself by falling off the map to a certain spot. And it's really hard, and I never could get it consistently ever. So I just decided not to try for it. Plus I had sushi, which meant I didn't actually have to. You actually do have to have sushi to complete chapter 6 otherwise. Chapter 7 is interesting. There are a couple flags in the Chapter 7 dungeon that I actually could do. I could go back right now and I could actually just go into the Crystal Palace and I could fight the boss. Because certain triggers with the enemies, the Duplighosts, count as flags for Chapter 7. So I just didn't do it. I just skipped it. Now, one of the other things you might be wondering, and I promise this video will end soon. I'm already at 25 minutes, and most of it's just been me rambling. One of the other things you might be wondering is, why didn't I get any of the Star Spirits? I never collected a single Star Spirit card throughout the entire game. That was on purpose as well. Part of it was because I knew once I did the Chapter 5 boss skip that I would just immediately get 5 of the Star Spirits, and then I also knew that I was going to be doing the Peach Warp. That is the thing where I clipped back into the boss room of Chapter 5, and in doing so, because I went to the room after the boss, the game didn't really know what to do. I'm still not 100% certain why this works. It doesn't set you back to Chapter 5 as far as I know. It just advances, like, it just counts as you collecting a Star Spirit and advances the Peach scene to the next one that you never the next one from the last one you did. And since the last one I did was for the Chapter 5, it's like, well, he got another Star Spirit, we need to keep going. So that's why it goes to the next Peach scene and then sets you to the scene after that Peach scene, which is obviously why you saw me show up in Flower Fields and the Crystal Palace after doing those Peach Warps. But the other thing is, I needed to avoid every Junior Troopa fight. Now, some of them I would have skipped either way. Like, I could have gotten the Star Spirit, like the Chapter 3 Star Spirit or the Chapter 4 Star Spirit. The Chapter 3 Star Spirit wouldn't have mattered because I didn't have to go back through Forever Forest in order to get back to Toad Town, since I had the pipe open, which I shouldn't have already had, but I did. Getting the Chapter 4 one, obviously there's no Junior Troopa fight associated with that. Obviously I never took the whale for Chapter 5, which is what would have got me the fight for Junior Troopa there. And because I skipped entering Chapter 7 and instead just left it, I never had to fight Junior Troopa, because the Junior Troopa flag for the fight in Chapter 7 is only set for when you're leaving... What's the penguin village called? I can't actually remember. Shiver City? I think it's Shiver City. When you're leaving Shiver City the first time, going right, that's when the flag is set for Junior Troopa. If you're at any point after that, the Junior Troopa fight isn't there. Also, I did not know entering the pipe to Shiver City was a flag for Chapter 7. I did not know that entering that pipe the first time was. That's why when I didn't even mean to. I accidentally went back. And that's why I had to reset, because it set me back to Chapter 7. But yeah, so not grabbing the cards, obviously it meant I got to skip all the Peach sections, which was it's just faster to do that. Likewise, I would never be able to bake the cake in Japanese. I do not know how to do it. I do not remember the recipe. I don't have, 4.5 years to bake a cake. So that's the other reason I was skipping grabbing all of the cards. Finally, the reason the game is in Japanese isn't because it's faster, although it is. The text is slightly faster, but it doesn't really matter anyway, because obviously I'm not trying to speedrun the game or anything. But the trick that I did in Chapter 5, where I got out of bounds and I got to go to Raphael the Raven early, and then the next time I went back to Lava Lava Island and then didn't talk to Raphael the Raven and instead just jumped out of bounds and got into the volcano. While it's possible to do that in English, it is so unbelievably much harder. Like, it requires an incredibly, like, frame and pixel perfect jump. Multiple, I should say. Like, you have to be standing on incredibly specific pixels of this one tree that you can jump up that will allow you to get out of bounds. But in the Japanese version, you can just use paracarry. So, that's the entire reason that I played this game in Japanese. But that's it. That is everything. That is everything I really needed to explain. Most of the other skips I did should have been sort of like... They should have just made sense for why I was doing them. Like, I did the water room fast, just by, like, I clipped through walls and stuff like that, but it was literally just so I didn't have to pull extra switches. Cannonless, which I somehow got first try. Holy shit. That trick is so, like... That trick is very hard, okay? That trick can end runs for people, and I got it first try, so that was great. But Cannonless, again, it was just to skip basically that whole room because you can, and because I didn't want to have to try and fight all the bullet bill blasters, or the bonsai bill blasters as they're called. Like, most of the other tricks I did should have made sense, just as they are things that allowed me to skip doing other things. They're things that allowed me just to skip sections of what I was already doing, basically. But that's it. With that, I have Let's Played Paper Mario 64. It only took 9 parts this time, as opposed to, like, 16, the last one, so that's cool. I promised my next Let's Play would be Golden Sun. I've promised that forever, and I promised that to someone on my Discord channel. By the way, join my Discord channel if you haven't already. If you ever want to chat, I'm on Discord all the time, because I have it on my phone, and I just check it, so... and I'm basically always on it on my PC as well, so... link for that will be in the description. Look forward to Golden Sun and possibly The Lost Age. I kind of don't want to do one without doing the other. I just want to, because I consider it just one long game as opposed to 2 separate games. They're just on 2 different cartridges. But yeah, be looking forward to that. Until the next time, though, guys, this has been Pink Reaper, signing out.